actually not slides. It's going to bring you to this. You have all the resources I have. Everything should be set up in this, so that way it'll automatically make copies for you in most cases, especially like the forms and some of the things I'm going to share with you early on. But you know, as we get together on a bright day today, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning, coffee's just starting to kick in. Sometimes technology can have you feel in a little different ways. Someone pointed out that he was actually probably mad at the wrong part of the computer. One time. I showed that he's hitting all the wrong things. Or sometimes maybe this is helpful.
I'm extremely excited today to announce a new app I have developed for teachers that you are going to just love, love, love. It is called Google Teacher Translate, Ultimate Comment Helper. And it's like Google Translate, where you say something into English and it translates it back into Germanish or something like that. Well, Google Teacher Translate, you're going to be able to say comments that you're struggling with what to say and what to write for on a planner or report card. It's going to translate it for you. It's real easy. What you just open up the app and you use your Siri and you say what it is you're struggling to write, and it'll translate it for you. So let's say you're saying this. Your child keeps licking a bunch of other kids out on the playground. What's that all about? So then you just say that in there, and then you open up your Google Teacher Translate, and you push the button that says Translator, and it will, well, there you go right there. Your child has a unique way of making friends. Isn't that a great way of saying your kid keeps licking a bunch of other kids? Let's see, what about if you had to say, Billy ain't paying no attention in class. He's looking all around, and he's not getting any of the things I'm trying to teach because he's too busy looking all around. Well, how are you going to say that? That didn't sound very nice. So you just open up your Google Teacher Translate, and you just push the Translate button like that, give it a minute or two, and it will, there you go. Billy's curiosity about the things going on around him often obstructs his ability to grasp certain concepts. Isn't that a great way to say Billy ain't paying no attention in class? I think you're going to absolutely love Google Teacher Translate. It's going to help you write in comments in your planners and your report cards.
You can't go wrong with little Jerry Brooks to start your day. One thing as we go through today, I hope to have you guys do some different things during this time. Here are 3, if you don't have one of these on your phone already, type around Boomerang or Ifttt. I'd encourage you maybe to download one of those. We can test out the Wi-Fi around here, see if you can add an app to your setting. I'll talk a little bit later on about kind of the value in some of these and how it can enhance the way that you're communicating in your school district, classroom, whatever it might be. I'm going to run this lady over at some point in time, so I'm going to apologize. What's your name?
Florence.
Florence, I apologize in advance for my trip over your stand. All right, so I'm Nick Proud. I'm the principal here, principal at Garner Elementary School, part of the Iowa City School District, North Liberty, Iowa. We've got about 700 kids under our roof in a K-6 building, so we're just a little place. Later on, I think, what was your name again, sir? What was it? Rush. Rush was checking out one of our car line videos I have in here, and you'll understand the importance of car line videos when you bring 700 elementary kids to school on a daily basis. I think they're all there right now. I have only gotten a few text messages about a sub that didn't show up, so not too bad this morning. But if you can check out these things, type around Boomerang or Ifttt. These are just ways that you can enhance your communication. So as examples, like type around allows you to add type. So this is a picture of me and my son. So fun. We're there holding hands. And then I added a Joe Sanfilippo quote that talks about be the teacher they tell their kids about. You know, isn't that a great standard to hold ourselves to? Be that teacher that they tell their kids. You can add stuff to just a little picture. So whenever I look at that picture, that's really meaningful to me, but yet I can send the message to staff or whoever it might be. Or Boomerang, this is a great example of Boomerang. I mean, how cute is this? I mean, look at that. I mean, that just makes you smile, doesn't it? You can just get a little smile in there. You can just watch that over and over. Or if you have kids who are really good at flossing, Boomerang's amazing, because then it looks like they're the best flossers in the history of the world. But you can check those out. So Boomerang's a nice example there. And then Ifttt, there's other layouts for that too, but this works through Instagram. If you want to put multiple pictures into one, that's just a way of doing it. You know, sometimes you don't want to do that like multiple posts, you just want to get them all in one setting. Ifttt is a great way to do that. We had cupcakes, yep, custom cupcakes. Our hashtag at our school is Finest Grace Best, so we put that on everything, like legit everything. You'll see it throughout this. And we had custom cupcakes made for end of the year thing. And there you go. I wanted to show off the gator and that. And those are pretty cool. So if you take the time, grab one of these, or if you don't get a chance to do it during our session today, get them for later on and challenge yourself to put it out there. I will say Typorama, to get the no watermark, is a paid app. I'm not making money off that, but it's just a thing for us to look through. So forms. How many of you often use Google Forms in your work? I see some nods here. Here's a few that I'm just going to share as examples. If you notice in this thing, you have the ability to, if you click on this, in all theory, it should make a copy automatically for you, and then you can edit it and have your own. So if you like what I'm sharing and you want that version of it, you can just take it. We have one for purchasing, one for special education, one for intervention, and then the behavior one. This is from another school. If you want that information, I'll have to share it with you later on. So this isn't going to be our typical, like, hey, I'm going to talk at you. I want us to work through stuff. So if you want to join us as we go through some of these. So this is one, I don't know if you guys have this at all in your setting with buying stuff or different things of that nature. Like if you're running through the building and someone's like, hey, can I get the blah, 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 or can I get this book, or can I get X, Y, or Z? And you might agree to it. Well, this is a way to keep our world organized. Every one of our teachers, everyone has this thing, and it's just basically they put it together where it's the item name, the email of the person requesting it, because it's set up, so that way once you put that email in, it'll send them an email back. Then it goes links for the item. So, I don't know if your teachers are like my teachers. They love Amazon. They're all over. They put the links for that in there. Then funding source if known. So if I told them, like, hey, this is going to come out of your PTO budget. This is going to come out of your grade level budget. This is going to come out whatever it is. They can throw that in there. And then my favorite, has Nick approved. You might need to change that in your own setting, though. Yeah. And then it goes to myself and the secretary, and then we have this to be able to make those orders. Quick, simple, easy. Yeah.
You said you haven't sent a form back. What are you using to do that? Are you using a form emailer?
I had to do 2 different extensions onto it. I don't know which one. I had to add. So if you just go in, you can add extensions into the form, and then it'll ask you where you want to send. I had to do 2 because I'm going to 2 locations. Because this will send, the one sends it to the teacher, and then the one sends it to the secretary and I. So you can add those on. I think it's already, like if you use this one, you make a copy of it. It should be all in there. You just have to set up the email addresses. But if you go and add those, I think it's an extension onto forms, and then I just picked a couple different ones and worked out pretty slick.
Do you have problems with like business office or other buildings doing it differently or anything like that?
We have control of our own building budgets. This is just using building budget funds, so it became a way for the secretary and I just to keep track of when those boxes show up and like, what is this? You forgot who ordered the 24-pack of Sharpies or whatever, those random, then you can look back on the form. I did have one teacher, when we first sent this out, she tried to order a really sweet pair of shoes from Dillard's. She was just joking around with me, messing around. But she put a link to a pair of shoes from Dillard's and said that I had already approved, and it was just kind of funny. So it's just a neat way, simple. Try a lot of these things. When you're in a building of 700 and you have like 70-some staff members and different things of that nature, you're getting those questions. You know that. You're even in whatever setting you're in, you're getting questions all the time. They're coming at you from different directions. This is a nice, easy way. Or they know, like, if it's a really simple, easy purchase, and a lot of times, they'll just send it. The secretary will see it. She has a basic kind of mindset of what's going to we're just going to go. And we don't even mess a lot of times. It may not even touch me in some of those decisions. If it's a few bucks and it's not a big deal, but it's just a necessity, we can just get it ordered and taken care of. The one thing I don't know, how many of you love sitting in IEP meetings, especially ones that get really long? You all with me on that one? So one of the things that we tried this year that has been really great, Tiny URL gated student info. We send this to parents with the meeting notice now, and we ask them to fill it out ahead of time. Because I don't know about you, but I sat in too many IEPs where you went through it, you thought it was successful, you had those great conversations, you're working through everything, and then you get to the end, and then the mom or the dad says, I got one more question. And then all of a sudden, you're there for quite a bit longer, or it's something that you didn't even know was on your radar. So we put that all in this ahead of time. of asking them what their student name is, who they are, and then if you notice, what are their greatest strengths, what are their interests, what are their preferences. We've just answered all those questions, so then when we sit down and we have that meeting, we say, hey, we took all these from that form. Is there anything else that you'd want to add? We added a couple things. Here's what we said about your child. They're really good at this, this, and this. And we noticed that they really prefer to work near the teacher. We added those things in. And then we asked them, please list any other concerns you'd like us to discuss and any other questions. Simple, easy. It's in our hands ahead of time. So I was in a meeting the other day. Special ed teacher did a fabulous job. The teacher had about the parent had about 3 questions to go along with it. She just went through and said, hey, your first question that you sent us, that we're going to get to when we get to your child's math goal. That's addressed right in there. So when we get to that, let's make sure I answer it then. This one's going to come up when we get to accommodations. And this last one, we can answer that right now. And we just did that. How much quicker is that? And it just felt so nice and natural, and the parent felt heard. Because how often do they get that giant document set in front of them, and they're like, it looks like it's a foreign language, and they're flipping through it, and then they don't feel like they're heard in the end. And that's a chance for them to get their voice into it to start with.
Did you get a good response? Do most of the parents respond?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a pretty good setting. We know in some of our families they don't have that access. Nice part about forms is, though, most people, even if you don't have home Wi-Fi, they do have what? They have the phone. So they can still fill that out. So that's a nice piece. So if you have something that's mobile friendly, almost everyone can get that. Wi-Fi access is becoming, I mean, it's there and you can get to it in a lot of public places, but a lot of people don't choose to pay for it at home. It's getting, it's pretty expensive. 50, 60 bucks is a lot of money for some families, but they do choose to make that choice to have their smartphone. So you want whatever you're going to use to be sent out to be in a mobile format. That's why we try to think about that in a lot of things, whether it's using S'more as a newsletter. I don't know if I put that as an example in here, but that'd be another little tech tool because it has a mobile format, thinking through those mobile formats. And then one more of these that's just kind of I'm going to have so many tabs open by the time we're done. You ever have those conversations at the end of the year? The ones where you're sitting down and you have this grade level teacher going to talk to this grade level teacher, or maybe it's your progression through courses if you're in a secondary setting or whatever it might be. We didn't want it to become something where kids are just getting talked about. We wanted to have purposes. So we actually started doing this for if any child received an intervention, and we just talked about what it includes, what we don't include, who the current teacher is, who the future teacher is, what were their designations, what was their data, area of concerns, what was the intervention, what made it successful, all these different little pieces. And then is it crucial, essential, imperative that you have a one-on-one conversation? Because then, what was the other nice part about putting all this into this form? It populates a giant spreadsheet, which then we all have. We have access to that whole spreadsheet then that'll tell us all the same information, so we can pass that along, we can look back, we can have some of those conversations, keep things moving along. So it's just a nice way at the end of the year to be kind of organizing what you're doing.
This one that says we need.
Oh, do I need to switch that one out? Okay, I'll fix that. The next two. The next one I don't have.
Can you just explain not just the form,
Yeah.
but how that process works? Like, what does that look like with your team of teachers, or how they go
Yeah.
over that?
So like going through this. So
Yeah,
this
just
we
like,
did.
Just give me the framework.
Yeah.
of what
So
that
this
looks
we
like.
do in advance. This is us organizing in advance because we didn't want teachers sitting across from one another and just talking about their whole roster.
Right.
So what we're doing here is we're prioritizing and saying, all right, who are the kids in your room that you need to have that one-on-one conversation with about the intervention? And our lens is we want to be able to start the intervention day one of the next school year. How are we going to start that day one? Because that's our plan. We need to be able to walk in. We're not guessing, we're starting. So if you have to have that conversation, if it's a simple intervention like they're just doing some fluency practice using Read Naturally or something like that, we don't need to have a conversation about that. That can be documented in this. That person can read that piece because we can sort it and we can give all the people it's in a spreadsheet. So we just sort it by teacher. Here's yours. And then we just sit down and have those one-on-one conversations about those highest need students that have those high-level interventions. We do it all in one big room. We take it, since we're K-6 building, part of the time kindergarten's not involved because they don't have any incoming students, and part of the time 6 isn't involved. Otherwise, we just give it an increment of time, and we're pretty tight on our time frames. We'll do the whole building in an hour plus PD session.
It's done in the spring then, I think.
Yes. So we let our kids fly up in our building. So we assign classes and fly them up to their anticipated teacher, like one of the last days of school. That's a pretty exciting thing. If you don't do that in your setting, it's a great way to alleviate a ton of anxiety in kids. And it doesn't cause many troubles in the teachers. So, I mean, it's just, I haven't run into a situation where it's like, oh, we're sad we did that. Because kids worry so much about who they're going to be with if you wait too long. That causes a lot of anxiety. Just getting to see them for half an hour makes the world of a difference. Or if there happens to be an oops, we've had that, you can correct it quickly. So that's a little bit of how our process, I mean, I can go into, we actually have a dialogue conversation thing that if you're interested in, I can connect you with that our IDS or other instructional coach and I put together, where it's specific questions we want you to answer so we don't get into that dialogue of, well, Johnny just, Johnny's this, his home life's this.
I'd like to see that.
So I can, just shoot me a note or connect with me and I'll make sure I get you that. Yeah, because all this stuff, like I said, this is going to be, so this copy link didn't work?
Says it needs permission.
Okay. It wouldn't let you do that, huh? It doesn't pop up like that? Okay. I'll play with that and I'll check on that. I apologize if that's not working. I just learned that you can do the copy on the form. You all know that trick, right? It's one of the best tricks. I'll slide down. I'll come back to this other one. So in any Google Doc, okay? Any Google Doc, any Google form, any Google whatever, if it currently, like up here, see how this one, if it says up at the top, at the end of my address bar, what's it say? Edit. If you switch that word to copy, and then send it out, it forces whoever gets it to make a copy of what you created. It's one of the greatest little hacks that I wish Google would advertise more. That is so handy, because how often do you build something that you really like that you don't want yours getting messed with, but you want someone else to have it? You don't want to share it with them because then they could mess with yours? You know what I'm talking about, because like, I'm letting you guys all have all of those, but it's not going to mess with anything that I just created, that we created in the first place. So just by changing from edit to copy, now you can send it out. So if you want to send something out to your whole building so that way they can all work off their own version of something, that's all you have to have. Just switch that little word in there. Or I talked to teacher friends, like I was working with some high school teachers the other day on this at one of our own in-services where they're sending out to 120 some students. How nice is that? Because then you don't have to have that thing where you're sending out, and, please remember to make a copy. Just switch that, and it forces them right away. So, fun little trick. All right. And then the last one I have in here, and if you want this information, I need to connect you with someone else. But there's a friend of ours, they do their office referrals through forms. For whatever reason, I am in a very tech-heavy school, but my teachers love paper on their office referrals still. I don't get it, I don't understand it, but I wanted to share this. Wickham Elementary, Amber Dobbs, she's the principal there, but they have this, and theirs is so fancy. If I select, if it's a major, and then it'll let me go through this. But the cool part about theirs, so they have it all in here. Theirs is so fancy though, and if you're interested, it actually auto-creates a letter for them. Woo! That's high-end. Look at that. So it'll populate this form, and then they can send that home. So if you're into that whole thing, I'm still paper and making phone calls, but this is a little tech version of that. All right, so I showed you the Google Drive trick copy. Now, how many of you do you use the Chrome browser? Chrome browser? We got the Chrome browser going on. Now, one of my favorite easy, now I don't know about all of you. Do you use Google Drive a lot? Okay. Do you find Google Drive to be somewhat frustrating sometimes to find your stuff? I see some nods. I see some nods. Or if you get those things where people are sharing with you all the time. Hey guys, how are we doing? There's some different things in here. So if you notice on my Drive browser, I have a ton of folders up here. Have you made folders before? I got a couple of nods. If not, this is a great time saver. If you go up in here, you can put all sorts of stuff. So I have all of these, which are all independent Google Drive items, bookmarked in here. So all you have to do, if you want to follow along and make one, you right click up in your bookmarks bar. It'll ask you if you want to add a folder. And I'll say I want to add a folder. And I can call that iTech. And I'm going to save it. Now, since I have too many, it pushed it all the way to the end here. But I can grab that. And I can drop it right here where I want it. See? So now I have a new folder. Now on any of these things, if I want to put something somewhere, I can click on that little star and I can decide where it's going to go. I'm going to put that in ITAC, so I can close out of this. Oh, I'm done. But now, instead of having to go into Drive to find it, instead of having to go anywhere, I have it right here. Or if I want to take, so if you didn't see that this first time through, click on the star. Yours might not be blue. I put mine somewhere. It's blue if it's somewhere. It's empty if it's not. Click on that star. Tell it where you want it to go. And then done. And then it starts filling in. Because I personally, so like on this one, my school stuff, I've got FastBridge, I've got Time Clock, I've got our job stuff, I've got our sub stuff. I put all those things right in here. For docs, I can get to the Garner Elementary schedule with one click. I don't have to find it anywhere. There we go. I'm in the schedule. Simple, easy, happy trick, just using that bookmarks bar. You can really save yourself a lot of time just in using that. That's a simple, like, I don't know, when I want to get to things, I don't want to spend a lot of time searching and looking and digging and finding stuff. Using that, making folders, putting things, depending how you're organized. If you're, I was working with a teacher who he started putting his by period, organizing them through there. I did some stuff where I just have it a little more general, where I have docs, professional stuff. I'm in a class, so I've got my class stuff over here. You can put a lot more just simple bookmarks just out there. And then if I add anything else, like since I have an iTech one today, I can just throw stuff in there that I find neat resources and throw it in there throughout the time. All right, now I just find my deck. There we go. All right.
You use the star
Yeah.
search item on the left hand in Google.
I don't use that.
That's one that
Yeah.
you're always bringing up the same spreadsheet or whatever.
Yeah.
I tell my staff all the time, star that, click on it, they love it when they see that.
And that you can. You're saying in Drive.
In Drive.
Yeah. And I just don't get into Drive much. I don't find myself digging in there. I dig into. I just keep it all here and then just open tabs. Just because I don't like to go into Drive. I use Drive for me. I use it as like a giant, basically repository of everything. I try to keep it somewhat organized, but I keep my really common working stuff right here. Now, the next one I'm going to share with you before we get to our next challenge, but we're going to have a little challenge this morning. And this one we might take a little time. How many of you have played with Ifttt? You got some? What do you have yours set up for?
So I have mine set up so that when I post it will go to between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
So you have it going to all three?
I do.
Nice. What do you got going for it?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't use it anymore? You chose not to? What'd you?
It's just that it's a social media tool,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
if what you're doing is you're trying to get a message from a school out to a lot of people, it's fantastic,
Mhm.
right? So we want to post it just here and make sure that once that's posted there, it's
Mhm.
also posted
Yeah.
to Facebook and Instagram, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's really cool, but
Mhm.
just not what
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So this is, if you go to Ifttt, I think I had enough T's in there. Did I get 3? It's if, so it talks about if this, then that. And it gets you through all these different things, and you can get set it up. And you need to connect in your accounts, or connect with Facebook, connect with Google. But you can connect different things and adds efficiencies to your day. So one that I have that I really enjoy is I have a Drive folder here. And this you might not have access to because it's in my own Drive. But anytime I post anything on Facebook, it puts that picture into a folder for us. So that way at the end of the year, when you're talking about your yearbook pictures or your different things of that nature, think about how efficient that can be in there. So that's a fun way, a way of, it just automatically takes care of that. So this pulls in, as I showed you earlier on, we had that thing about Typorama. All right? There you go. There's an example of a Typorama. We're advertising our second grade music sharing tomorrow, 2 p.m. And it just
Say
gets,
that again, you have it set so, because we can use that, but,
Mhm.
so, say that again, how do you?
so this one's set up that anything I post to the Garner Elementary Facebook page account, it puts the picture into a Google Drive folder for me. So that way I can just share this folder at the end of the year, and now we have our stuff for our yearbook and such. And so I need to go in and clean this out because some of these pictures from last year. But I mean, this is really nice. I mean, I can just sort it by, it's currently sorted by name, but if I went by, last modified, and then you can get some of these more. We're out of school of the wild. So how nice is that then? You're out of school of the wild, our experience with our kids, and I can take this picture of me and this kid with the blindfold on. There's actually a reason you had a blindfold on. It's one of the activities of hearing the sounds and stuff. But it'll set it up. That's a little more of a high level one. You want to kind of tinker around with that a little bit because you need to interconnect your accounts. But it's a nice way. There's a lot of different functions on that. I set it up personally for my wife, so anytime she posts anything on her Facebook account, it goes into Google Photos. You can do some of those automatic things. Because usually if you're posting it, it's something of a high enough priority that you want people to see it. It's probably high enough priority that you want it yourself. So that just puts it in another place to store it away. Okay. Too many tabs. All right. Now we got a little challenge for you. How many of you can say that every staff member in your building have your cell phone number? Anybody? Good. No? So here's my challenge for you. I'm going to challenge you to email out your number right now. And I'll give you some rationale why, and we'll see if you're willing to go with me on this. Every staff member in the building has my cell phone number. We have, I just give it out. I make sure everyone knows it. I make sure that's a thing that's handed out to them. It doesn't matter what your role is, because sometimes when we hand out our cell phone number, we hand it out to certain roles but not other roles. So then we're creating an automatic what? Huh? Yeah, we are. We're creating a hierarchy or divide. Well, so-and-so can text Nick, but this person can't text Nick. This person can text Nick, but this one can't. Well, you're only here 3 hours a day, where you're here all the time and you work next to me, so you get to have it, but you don't get to have it. You create an automatic hierarchy by that of who has it. But also, it's the best way. How I'm able to go take all those pictures that you just saw, do you think I know everything that's going on in our building? We have a large building with a lot of classrooms. Do we have that? No. But a lot of times I'll have a teacher text me and say, Nick, you've got to come check out this blank that's going on. You've got to come see this. Come check it out. You've got to come see this. It's great. We constantly have group chat. You know those scenarios where you have that classroom or that period of the day where you know it kind of, it's not going terribly well. You just have a little group text with that person. For me, it's usually the teacher, myself, and we have a Sam in our building or a facilitator type role, and then we can respond. We can see who's able to respond. If they're like, we've got a couple, anybody have any runners? Got any runners? I've got some really solid runners. You got runners, and that's a great way, because you just say, hey, initials on the move, and then you can respond and say who can follow, who can get eyes on, or who sees that person. Simple, easy way to get it out there. So putting your number out there. I just put mine. There's mine. This is my legit number. There it is. You guys can text me if you want. You can come say hi. Just putting it out there. I think we have this fear of putting it out there versus the advantages that you can have of doing this. So I'm going to pause for a second. Maybe chat with your neighbor. What would be the advantages or other advantages you can see of sharing this number? And I'm going to challenge you to email it out to your staff right now, or at least get it ready for a draft. Maybe it'd be kind of random if you just said, hey, everyone, here's my number. That could be a really awkward email. But if you, wanting to hang out later, here's my number. But maybe you can figure out how you can craft that in there. So take a moment, talk to your neighbor about that, and maybe start drafting that note, and then I'll move on to some of these other pieces here in a second. Yeah. I don't use it. Not in this session, but I use it. And we have a different function within so we use Blackboard Connect. So I can text all of our families, or I can get down to the classroom level just through our system, so I don't use Remind as much then, which is nice. Yeah. Within your staff? Yeah. Yeah. That's a true point. And we just have the other tools, so I don't have to use it as much, but that is a good tool. Yeah. While you're thinking about this, Rush brought up a good point up here. I mean, I'm sure some of you have heard Remind is a good tool. We used to use Remind quite a bit. It's a way you can connect and text and do different things. Some of you are nodding your heads about that. We have a different system because we have the updated Blackboard Connect, which allows me to send some of those texts like Remind would, but it's just a little more powerful tool. But that's a great way within your staff to get everyone connected too. If you have a Remind group, you can check that one out as well. But anyway, so I'm just throwing that challenge out there. Padlet. People play with Padlet much? Great way to crowdsource resources. We did a thing the other day. where we did musical shares. If you want to check out musical shares, we're going to do an example of that, shameless plug, at Not Your Mama's session. Later on today, there's 3 of us together, we're going to have a little fun. But we did musical shares. It's a fun activity, a way to get your staff moving and sharing. And then we asked them to put their ideas into a Padlet. And just look at how then you get this great kind of crowdsourced information of neat ideas that are going on within your setting that you can easily then share and everyone can have access to. So even if you didn't get the chance to talk to Monique about her math rotations and the games that are going on, you can now look at this and see, oh, Monique's doing some neat stuff with math rotations. I'm going to want to check that out. Or I want to learn more about this literacy choice, or I want to learn more. So all we asked people to do when we did this was just, hey, everyone bring something that's really cool in your classroom. So the best opportunities for professional learning is just asking people to bring something cool that's happening in your classroom and giving them a chance to talk about it. It doesn't have to be too complex. Give them a chance to share, a chance to connect with people across the building, and then let them kind of see what happens. So at the end of our time, we did this musical shares. They talked to a variety of people. They came back together. We asked them to put it into this, and now we had it all in one place. It was a great way to get a ton of information into one situation or one space. All right. So now earlier on, social media, to me, is one of our most valuable resources. And I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit. How many of you have various social media accounts at your school? What do you got?
Instagram, Twitter,
Okay.
Facebook.
What do you guys have?
Just Facebook.
Just Facebook? Anyone else? Twitter. So one thing, and I'll scroll down. I really encourage you to think about, so I have 3, we use 3. Facebook, I always say my best audience are my parents, grandparents, and my mom. If you ever look at Garner Elementary School and see anything that's posted, my mom, Linda Miller Proud, likes it all. It's guaranteed. Like I know when I post something, my mom is going to like it. And if I post 20-some pictures, my mom's going to like them all. It's just one of those things. I've actually tried talking to her about it. Like, Mom, really? Like, just like the album. Or, you know, you don't need to like every one of them. Because all of a sudden I'll have like 20-some notifications on my phone. I'm like, what in the world's going on?
Before she could have even looked at all of them too.
Yeah, I know. She's just
Waiting for it.
She's just an instant liker. And actually, you know, the crazy thing, you mentioned that, and I'll show you some examples later on. We have posts that we time out, that we do at certain times of the week, and if I don't do it at the right time again, I have parents who are like, excuse me, I haven't seen that yet.
She had it set for her if then.
Yeah, no kidding. It's my mom. No, my mom does not have a. She's just always. She got a smartphone, so that's the problem. I helped my mom get a smartphone. And I don't know if it was a good decision.
Take it back.
So, Instagram is great for our parents. There's many parents that becomes their preferred platform because they don't like all the noise in Facebook. Instagram's a little simpler. I have a lot of students who are part of Instagram. With up to 6th grade, I have a lot of 5th and 6th graders that have Instagram accounts that then will like that. That's a great way to connect with them. Now I have found my Twitter account, I find that to be a very few number of parents, but it's a lot of educators. Folks like all of you end up following the Garner Elementary, Twitter account. You don't really care that it's picture day, but yet you're getting those notifications because you just want to see the stuff we're posting. So, I'm going to share, we'll go through a couple of different things here on why do I think this is valuable. This is how we'll spend kind of our closing time, and I'll end you guys. What do we have? 45, 50 minutes? What are the times on these? 50? All right, we'll see. Maybe we'll get a bonus 5 minutes here. Or we can do some questions at the end. Oh, yeah. See that? You got to look up at that, Eric. Did you see that? I had a good lean going there, didn't I? The hair was feathered just perfectly. It looks nice, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. See, the nice part about this, don't forget your cheesy smile. Picture Day is Wednesday. That's so much better than text. If I tried actually finding a Facebook post where we just use text. We stopped doing it. Why? Because we don't get the same reach. If you just have text in your thing, no one ever is looking at it. That's just all there is to it. You have to have a way to add an image. An image needs to be added to everything. If you think about your own scrolling habits, do you find yourself pausing at the 3-line sentence ones? Never. But this, because I put my picture on it, 612 people liked it, and then there was 99 clicks because they really wanted to see me close. I bet a few people zoomed it in. And my mom probably liked it. See, look. You see over this? I told you. This is one of my favorite pictures of you, my mom. And then she responds and said, great picture of a leader. And she says it's from my dad, but I really think she just typed it. Like, I'm not joking. My mom's all over it. It's great. Well, I'm an only child. My mom loves me. So that's an example there. But you know, you can kind of see the reach. Pictures are important. But I'll tell you what, it can continue to become, you know, the more you post pictures, your greater stuff. So this, we do 2 things every week. And this, if you're just beginning in your social media journey, I challenge you to find opportunities within your week that you're making it a priority to do it. So this is one of the things we do. We do this every Friday. It's Finest Grace Best Friday. Check out the bracelet winner. So every Friday, we do a drawing of some names, 5 names. They get a bracelet that says Finest Grace Best. So they're pretty sweet. Kids take pride in them. You see my little guy in the middle? He's holding it up. He's putting the guy's arm out there. He's like, yeah, look at this. Sometimes I get a good power to the people going on with them. It looks a little odd, though. I feel like it's a cult then, so we don't like that one. But, so we do Finest Grace Best Fridays, and these kids get their picture taken in front of our Finest Grace Best wall. This is our new thing we did this year. If you look at it, see all these little signatures? That's all our kids. We had them all sign a wall. That was fun. And then we had an artist make this big sign. We let all the kids sign the wall. We talk about what it means to be the Finest Grace Best. And then every Friday we do Finest Grace Best Fridays, and we post a picture in front of us. Superintendent was in the house the other day. What do we think we made him do? Sign the wall. Sign the wall. Get your name on there. So it's fun stuff. But this one, 600 and some people end up liking it. We get people responding right away. And then, look, this Lydia here, she told Michelle, look, your kid's in there. You better check that out. How cool is that? That then they're getting connected and it's just spreading. And it gets shared and our message gets out there. We do Marvelous Mondays, another example similar to this. Every Monday, we have every classroom, we do PBIS, you know, tickets in your classroom, all that stuff. We say, hey, it's another Marvelous Monday over announcements. Draw your ticket, send your kid down. Every classroom sets a kid down. We take a picture in front of a sign. We give them a sticker that says they're awesome. The little Finest Grace Best sticker, one of the ones on my computer over here, the little guy. Boom, stick it on their shirt so when they go home, they can tell their parents, look, I got the sticker. And then that tells the parents they can look where? On our pages. And they can find all the stuff and they can see those different things. And now we're connecting with families again. And how cool is it? Kids get so pumped just to get a picture taken. We have another sign we do our Marvelous Monday ones in front of. Then we put it up in our hallways. It's simple, easy. But that's a great way to get into your own habits of putting it out there. Now, up my, let's see, which video we got going next? Okay. How many are willing to do a Facebook Live video? Of yourself? Of yourself? Now, check this out. Now remember, my pictures, how many people check them out? 600 some? Look at this. Almost 1,500 checked out a video. When I was talking to Russ earlier on, we changed our whole car line procedures. You change your car line procedures, you have 700 families coming your way. Heads up. So, we thought we'd have a little fun with it. This is me. Hi. This is Ken. Ken is, we're opening a new elementary in Iowa City. That's why we have 700 kids now. We'll have less next year. Ken's at our building, another building, while he works to open that building. It's kind of the shared principal gig. It's nice. We're introducing Ken, and we're going to talk about the car line. So, we did it the fun way. Highway to the danger zone. Right into the danger zone. Whoa, hey, everyone. Oh, sorry about that. My bad. Oh, we were just thinking, we're talking about the danger zone, and we wanted to talk a little bit more about the car line. But before we do that, let's go ahead and introduce Ken. Ken is going to be the new principal of Grant Elementary. Ken, you want to say a couple words?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited to be part of Garner this coming year, and Penn, and of course opening up Christine Grant Elementary School, fall of 19.
Now you might wonder why we're not in Kyle's car. Well, Kyle's actually getting married here soon. I know it's surprising, but Kyle is getting married, so we're excited for him. And so we're in Ken's truck today. So let me turn this camera around, and we're going to do a couple more car line updates. First off, big one right here. You see this? That used to be our entryway. We've got some bets going. Who's going to be the first parent to jump this curve? Don't be that parent. Let's not be the parent that ends up at the landscaping. Remember, that entrance is no longer there. We're going to head on forward still. And if you're coming from Front Street, we're going to be heading in this way.
You don't want to see the whole thing. But how much easier was it to get engaged? I had so many comments about this. We did a variety of them. The reference to From Kyle's Car, we had done a bunch early on. He's our facilitator, Sam role. We were doing episodes from Kyle's car, and then Kyle was actually getting married, so we did from Ken's truck, and we do these videos just driving through. I got so many comments over the summer, your videos are great, and it was a great way to connect with families. And what did they know about them? They knew about the car line, which was something that was really important for us to make sure we had out there. And then we got next level fancy. I gotta get to this. All right. So sometimes you don't have to have all the skills. Well, I'll get to next level fancy a little bit. So Facebook Live, where you have your different events, is a great way to get it out there. Kyle, you're going to get to meet Kyle. This is Kyle. He made a bet with some of our 5th graders last year that the Cavaliers were going to win the NBA Finals, and he lost. And the bet was they got to shave his beard. And they got to do it. We had 3,000 people watch Kyle's beard get shaved. I have no idea why. This thing is awful. It's the worst video ever. Yeah, legit. But 3,000 people watch that. That's just connecting with your community, finding unique ways, going live on video. We do it for all our music sharings, our events. We just go live. I've had more and more grandparents and people who are traveling and different things that just thank us for that. It's an easy way to connect with your community. It saves the video. You have a history of it then. It's a neat way to get those things out there. So just challenge yourself. Now I'll go next level fun. We went big time. So you never know what resources you have. And until you start asking, because one of the things we got thinking about with our car line videos, those are random from whatever's car. I had somebody he works in our lunchroom, he's also a parent. He's like, hey, I saw this other thing on YouTube. We should so do this. I've got access to a drone, so we better check this thing out and let's do it up right. So this is me driving my car.
Right now, as I'm driving down Birch Street, getting ready to show you the car line a little bit. We've got a drone following me from above as we're working through our car line procedures. So up here, as you approach the entrance,
that's big time right there.
And we're going to turn right into the entrance. This
has nothing to do with my skill. I drove the car and I talked. He did all the other fun, all the other stuff. He made this, and then we just put it on YouTube.
To the left of me.
So slick and easy. You never know the resources you have within your own building. If you just reach out, like, gosh, we'd love to do a drone video of the football game, or the drone video, or whatever. You don't know what might be out there. So we can give this out, because we've got it as tinyurl.com / Garner Car Line. And we can just give it to new families. So when new families show up, we just give them this. Because car lines are stressful, right? We all know this. They're awful.
This is our car line as well.
See?
We'll be working up towards the front of the school. It leads all the way around.
And it's got our hashtag here the whole time.
We'll park over here in these spots. We have many visitor parking spots up here at the front. You'll also see the rest right in front of the building, some handicap spots that are.
Isn't that fun though? Plus it made some really cool pictures of our building. Oh, there I am again. I just wanted Eric to see my picture again. So, one of the things I'd like to challenge you to do quick. Maybe you downloaded one of those apps. Maybe you just have access to one of your social media accounts right now. Maybe it's your personal, maybe it's professional, whatever it might be. Take a moment here. In our we've got about 3-4 minutes together. While I can do a few questions as well. Post something. Put something out there. Put content out there. If you don't put content out there, you're never going to have that success. So whether it's maybe a trick you found that you're like, hey, you want to share with some of your principal friends, or maybe it's just something out there, putting content out there on a daily basis is essential. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. I always am thinking around the school, how can I put content out there? How can I make sure, I love the talk, I mentioned Joe Sanfilippo early on, him and Tony Sinasis, they had a book, and they talk about, you need to be the author of your story at your school. Otherwise, because what's going to happen otherwise? I think my friend Eric Ewald's doing a session, I don't know if he's doing social media interns, or if he's doing the one on, what'd you do at school today? I mean, how often is that the question when kids come home? What are you doing at school today? What'd you do at school today? I want them to have access to this stuff. I want them to know. I want parents to see and be able to ask some of those same questions. So Put some content in there for yourself. If you have any questions, great. Otherwise, if you want to get a head start on the rush to the keynote, you can do that as well. I appreciate your time this morning, but I'm happy to stick around and answer any questions you might have.